USA from Monafric. I would like to welcome you to Monafric's art discussion today. So to start, I would like you to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Julius and James. I'm a visual artist.
Okay.
I work primarily on paintings.
Okay.
Hi, my name is James Adibayo. I'm a visual artist. I work basically on oil paints.
Oil paints.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Thank you very much for being here again. So I would like to start off with knowing your background. How did you get into art?
I hold an HND in painting from Yaba College of Technology,
Oh, okay.
Yaba, Lagos. I graduated in 2017 and I've been practicing art since then.
How did you discover your love for art? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Discovery, since I was a child, I've always known that art was my thing, I guess, and everyone around me knew that as well.
Oh, interesting. Did you study art as well?
No, I didn't study art, but just like him, I discovered that I could actually draw well when I was young, so I actually wanted to study art, but fortunately or fortunately, my parents, they cannot actually see the job security in being an artist. So they were like, you should study maybe like architecture and all. But later on, I studied mass communication. But even when I was in school, I realized that the passion and love I had for art was, I can't even say, like there's no words to use. So I just went into like just drawing, and all. Then my passion for art grew, and personally, art has just been like a therapy section for me. So my love for art just grew and grew. So before I later made the decision to make a career with it.
Okay. So when did that start? What time, or how many years ago did you make that decision to make a
I know
career out
that
of
this is going to be a career. That was in 2017.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay, so one thing you said that pointed out to me, talking about job security and art. How would you describe that?
Most artists.
Well, okay, I'd like to compare maybe 10 years ago and now.
All right. I won't actually say that it's not easy that very easy road. Because art is kind of luxury and not everybody can afford art. Mostly, what kept me going then was that I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it for the love of it.
Jesus, how would you describe like job security to art-wise, like from 10 years ago and now?
Yeah, I think.
As it got to like, would you think that's gotten more lucrative?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. More lucrative, more covetable. More people now are open to the idea of having their children study arts based on the trajectory that they have seen of older artists, thriving and making a living from art. But back when I chose to become an artist, it wasn't for the money as well. Just like he said, I didn't even know that I could make millions from art. Back then, it was just a young dreamer with his dream, blinded by the love that he had for this career, and that was just it primarily. So but looking at the market now, the industry, which is just growing, it's a lot more lucrative now, and right now I look back and say, I made the right choice.
Wow, interesting. Practicing art for, you said 5 years now. Okay, so how would you say, practice has changed?
I would say the usual way that people evolve. Actually, Originally I was pretty naive, coming from an academic background. I wanted to do things, play by the rules, and as I continued to grow, I began to discover that certain things or certain approaches that I had employed in the past was just not going to cut it in the real world. So I had to start shedding those idiosyncrasies, and learning new ones as I evolved. And I would say my art is a lot more refined now than it was back then, in terms of even the way that I communicate my ideas to my audiences. So I would say I now have a more direct approach. Back then I just wanted to cluster my canvas or narrative space with all the things that I had in my head, but now I know to compartmentalize certain things and then release other things.
You said something about your ideas, like, but I'd just like to have like some examples of those some things that you said you had to like cut off something like what, or play by the rules. Actually, that was what you said.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, if you're an art or design person, you know that there are principles and elements of art and of design. So, like, you're drawing an anatomical study, or you're making an anatomical study, you know that there are certain rules that you follow in terms of proportion. But in the real world, nobody cares about those things if in the real sense, unless what you're talking about, unless what you're practicing is the regimented kind of art, or the regulated form of art. But that's not what I wanted to do when I got out. So I had a conflict in disseminating my ideas, in the sense that I'm a non-conformist in terms of the way that I think, but the standards and the rules that we've been taught in school were conflicting with that nature, that my non-conformist nature. So I was trying to create art that was radical, but I was also being put in check by the idea of, okay, follow the proportions, follow the elements and the principles of design when you're creating the work. So I mean, I got more carefree as I continued to evolve. I became bolder in my expressions.
So what style would you say you have? What's your ideal style like?
I won't really. I would just
But you
say.
say you're into oil painting.
Yeah.
So is there a particular style
I
you
would
have?
just say figurative.
Figurative.
I don't like to. I know most artists, they kind of have like a name. Some even kind of create a name for their art. But I don't just want figurative. Like.
Okay, well, how would you say your style has changed to over time in your 5 years of practice?
5 years of practice. Okay, when I started art, it was mainly for me. Like I was doing art for myself. So, and there's a lot of unlearning, relearning, and learning again. So trying to do that, I kind of realized that art should not just be something you love. It should be something that you can pass to the society and someone will catch. So then I tend to kind of change my perspective or approach, since I don't just want the art to just be there. I want people to actually relate with what I'm saying. So then I started doing so much research, and because I didn't go to art school, so most of the things I know is kind of going on YouTube, buying materials and all. When I started art, I wanted to do art that people will just see and be like, wow. I wanted out the wow more than the conversation.
Yeah.
So I started with parallelistic drawings, so that you will see and you kind of not believe the fact that it is drawing. And that was a challenge to me because of my eyes. So I kind of have a eye condition called a balocella diplopa, which means I see one object as though there are two.
Oh.
So trying to do that was why I said art was for me. So then I was trying to do the art in form that, okay, I see one object as though there are two, and I'm drawing a parallelistic drawing. So people would feel like, oh, it's not possible and all. But I was getting the wow more than the conversations, and I tend to change my narrative of approach that, okay, I want art that can sprout of conversations and all.
Okay, so I would like to know like a real life situation that inspired like a piece of work for you.
All right. Like when I was into art and all, I was facing some real life challenges and all. So that was why I said art is a kind of therapy section for me. Because when I'm kind of angry and all, I just get a sheet of paper with the pencil and all good. Even that, my phone, I have drawing apps on it. That way, even if I can't even actually see the paper and the pencil or the pen there, I can just draw something. Like it's kind of a way to relieve what I'm thinking. And there was lockdown, I could not get that material. But maybe there was a little bit of release or lockdown like this. I went to them. I've never painted before. I just got a 6x5 canvas and painted on it.
Wow.
So
very good. Really.
So that was why I can say that my art has progressed.
Thank you. So what about you, Julius? Julius, how would you say what real life situation has inspired like a particular artwork of yours?
I have a series of work that I created during the lockdown, like that were inspired by the experience of the lockdown. I have a series of works that are inspired by my encounter with the police which is a series on police brutality. Some of them went viral during the NSAS protest. I have series that are inspired by political apathy that we experience here in Africa. That's so pretty much everything that I do.
Everything.
Yeah, I do not. So I evolved from creating art purely for fun in my during my internship. I interned with Temitayo Ogumbi. She's an amazing artist. I'm a mentor. She asked me the question, why, and I couldn't answer back then because I was just creating portraits because they were beautiful. So it was that point. That point was the turning point for me in my artistic career, and from then onwards, I would always ask why before I create.
So my next question is about art funding. What do you think should art be funded, and what roles do you think art funding has played?
I'll take you from my personal experience.
Okay.
I was a beneficiary of a grant over the period of the COVID lockdown, and I can't overemphasize the impact or the role that I played in my practice, because it was a time of financial dryness in a sense. So getting that fund allowed me. It wasn't like I was able to acquire or procure materials with the fund, but what the funds did was he buoyed my confidence again. Like, oh, okay, so it means that I'm doing something that's meaningful. So at that time, what it did for me was more psychological than it was even physical. But then I've had countless encounters with people who have enjoyed grants and funding from organizations, art organizations, and it has gone a long way in pushing the artistic practice. And also there are certain projects that you want to embark on as an artist that you know yourself that this project is huge and I cannot do it myself. So I need to secure funding from an organization that is actually financially buoyant enough to do that. So this funding, the impact of this funding is what we see in terms of really magnificent artworks that leave us wowed. You see very large-scale installations, and you're like, "Wow, how did this person come up with this? How much did they spend, and all of that?" And installations do not usually get sold. Some of them are just artistic statements, so you do not sell them. You do not create them with the intent of selling. So for projects like that, and artists have different ideas like that over time. So funding is a very, very good way of helping them, execute such projects. So yeah, it cannot be overemphasized the importance of it.
Okay, James, have you ever gotten any funding for art? So what do you think?
I personally haven't been privileged enough to get any grants.
Okay.
So I am someone that has, I say I have so much talent, so many talent, all these skills. So I use doing other works to fund my heart. Like what he said, when you get even when you get funds from your home heart, it kind of give you it kind of boosts your confidence. Like I can remember the first time ever I got a dime from making my art was when someone from the US messaged me and said he saw my art and he would like to write a book, and two of my art he would like to use it as illustration for the book. So he now said we agreed on a price that he's going to pay. When I was going to the bank that day to collect money, it wasn't that big. Like it just permission. It wasn't I was sending the book to him. Just permission to use the picture of my work for the book. No.
Okay, so one of our big questions. So what do you think about Europe returning stolen art? Because we've been seeing news about art pieces wanting to be returned. I actually saw one about this I think I can't remember, it was like some type of artifact. And then, when they said the origin, it was someone from Benin and stuff, and then something about returning down to Africa. So what are your thoughts on that?
I have mixed feelings.
Okay, why is that?
So I think everyone is overly excited about the prospect of having an artifact returned to us. But I mean, it's beautiful to have it back here. I'm from Edo State, so I share a little sentiment with those artworks. The majority of the artworks that were stolen are from Benin.
Yeah.
So I would love to have them returned. I saw a video recently of from some Jesus school, the school that has Jesus in it, whatever, in London, and they returned one of the artworks from the Benin expedition back then.
Okay.
That was gifted to them apparently, or quote unquote. So Benin emissaries that went to the king's emissaries that went to collect, they received the works back, and everyone seemed excited and all of that, which was really jolly and good. Then I look at it from the angle of colonization in itself. How many years ago were we given our independence, and how far have we come? Have we progressed or have we declined? I don't think it's novel to say that we have declined drastically. We have plummeted. So, in that same sense, if I look at the return of the artifacts that were taken from us, stolen from us, I am met with both joy and uncertainty. Because many years ago, I went to the National Museum in Lagos. There were certain things that were there. But go back there now, it looks like a graveyard.
So James, what do you think about that?
I totally agree with you, because when I saw a documentary about kind of a adult community trying to get the stolen bronze from Africa, and my first question was, what kind of, how will I put it now? What have been put in place to make sure that those artifacts will be in good condition here?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because like what you said, when everything is actually returned, which we are hoping for, like how are those artworks going to be protected? Who will have the say of where they stay? And is there any kind of organization that is already in place or that will be put in place to make sure to keep their safety? So I just kind of feel like when this I will sure that when these artworks comes back, they're not just going to be at the long run going to be like just profitable to one family that just carry it and sell it. And this thing it's wider now. They won't collect it back and go and put it in British museums again. They will probably have it somewhere stored for the next 500 years, and you will not see those works again. And I kind of feel that we are making progress, trying to make those kind of conversations to get what belongs to us back. Even though they say they made policy that the British Museum does not return. It was so annoying because I can't put it in a real sense, coming to your house and I stole something from you, then I take it back to my house and I make a law that I can't return it. Like, it's very, very annoying. But since the conversation is a little bit heated up and all, I feel they are trying to respond in some ways. But when we actually get the works back, where are they going to be?
Okay.
Is there going to be federal? Is it going to be the museum? Is it going to be privately owned? Is it going to be federal? Is it going to be
going to take care of them
by government? And if it's privately owned, what are the what will be in place to guide the works? So that the next 7-10 generations to come, I won't have to go to Benin, I won't have to go to London again to see an artifact from my country.
Okay, so my next question is, what do you think about artists selling primarily to the European and North American markets?
I think it's deja vu all over again. In a way, I'm guilty of this as well, but man will chop. So, but truth be told, this is a conversation that I've had with a few of my colleagues about how I think like we're having a renaissance of that cycle of selling our souls and selling our identity to
the white man.
Yeah, to the white man in essence. Yeah, so because literally, if you look back at the story of the slave trade and all of that, it wasn't entirely the white man coming to take our people forcefully, completely. It was our people still selling our people to the white men.
Okay.
Let's fast forward to 800 years from now, and another century from now. Majority of the works that were created in this time would be over there again. So we would have to go over there again to see the works. Do you not see it?
Yes.
So it's a vicious cycle.
Exactly. So, but then I think it's still owed to the fact that our own people do not see our value yet. So we need to get the white man stamp first. Then you now see you now see people, this guy has exhibited in, so
Oh,
look
yeah.
at this Olufemi,
Yes.
that started getting acclaim recently, and he has been making waves in auction houses. He recently sold a work for $118,000, which was wow. I mean, it was just mind blowing, and he's still living and he's still young. So someone like that now, Nigerian collectors will be scrambling to get his works, even if it's
Now
just a small
because
piece.
of the
Now because of
recognition.
that, yes.
What do you think about African collectors and collecting art in this part of the world?
That's
Collecting art and appreciating African artwork in Africa. I mean, where you touched on it, so I don't know if you'd like to like broaden.
Yeah, I think I've said my piece on that topic. I don't think they value our works enough.
But they're actual African collectors.
Yes, absolutely. But the ones who value the works more are the ones that are even in diaspora.
Yes.
So Africans in
African
diaspora
collectors that have been influenced by the weather and whatever. But the ones under this scorching sun that you experience in Lagos, they will tell you, where have you exhibited? You are a young boy. Don't put money before your practice. That's what
so the value is more like there's higher value when you've been recognized elsewhere.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my final question is: so professionally, what would you say your goal is?
Yeah. So if I could bring the next 5 years to this present time, I would say I want my art to have reached like the farthest ends of the earth, like to be as popular as Michael Jackson's art was.
Okay, so James, we'd like to hear from you too. So professionally, what's your goal?
Well, I will personally say I want my works in major museums
Okay.
in the world, because I believe more in institutionalizing artwork than just being in private collection. It's not as if I don't know that, but I believe more in that, because that more kind of give your work more values, and it's kind of more people get to see your work and all. And I tend to kind of reach some certain level. I don't know how many years that's going to take, but I'm willing to wait till it's going to happen.
I'd just like to thank you guys for coming. This was a very interesting conversation to have. We hope to see you maybe in our next coming editions of this talk. Possibly, maybe you'll be able to show some of your art. Possibly, just to show.
To that.
So, thank you for coming, James. This was very nice. So, sign out. Bye.